Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Greetings, friends, and welcome to the May 12, 2014 edition of Nightcast. Nick Childs has our opening story tonight. A video purporting to show around 130 of the schoolgirls kidnapped in Nigeria almost a month ago has been released by the Islamist group Boko Haram.
Images that are sure to renew the anguish, but also, maybe, raise some hopes for the missing Nigerian schoolgirls. According to Boko Haram, this frightened-looking, huddled group is more than 100 of the abducted girls. They're chanting verse from the Quran, and their full-length garb is, says Boko Haram, because they've converted to Islam. And accompanying the video, the militant's leader has set out his demands. He says he'll release the girls only if imprisoned members of Boko Haram are also set free. Here, one girl from the group shuffles anxiously forward, again reciting the Quran. Here, a rather contrasting image and a very different appearance. 4 students reunited with their families just a week after the abduction. The grief of these families over their missing children has reached and resonated around the globe. Nearly a month now since the Boko Haram raid that wrecked this school and took away its pupils, the international effort to find them has widened. Israel, the latest country to offer its expertise. Nigeria's military may be making a show of its presence on the ground now and its efforts to tackle the Boko Haram challenge, but still the criticism grows over the authorities' response.
The federal government will tell you they are doing their best, but we as parents, and I, for example, as a representative of the people, will only say the government have done very well, superbly well, if the girls are back safe and healthy. If the girls are back.
We don't know when or exactly where this video was recorded. The state governor of the region from where the girls were taken has said he believes most of them are still in Nigeria and haven't been taken across the border. What all this means for the chances of finding and freeing them isn't clear, but it's sure to sharpen the global concern for their fate. Nick Childs, BBC News.
Friends, Nigerian Interior Minister Abu Mora has said that swapping prisoners in exchange for girls kidnapped by the Islamist militant group Boko Haram is an option that is not on the table. The group released a video earlier today apparently showing, as we showed you in the previous video, showing about 130 girls kidnapped from a school in northern Nigeria on April 14. In the film, Boko Haram leader Abubakar Shekau said the children would be held until prison militants were freed. Boko Haram has abducted more than 200 girls in the recent weeks and previously threatened to sell them.
As a government, we're determined to ensure the release of our girls that have been abducted from Chibok. But to say the least, I do not think that the Boko Haram sect that has been characterized by the Nigerian government and some governments of the world as a terrorist organization is in any moral position to request for a swap of the people who are in custody vis-a-vis the innocent, defenseless schoolgirls that were abducted from their secondary school. Let me make this point very clear, that as far as this government is concerned, the option of a swap of innocent citizens with people who have taken arms against the country, who have infracted on the laws of the country, certainly is not on the table.
Friends, who of you there would this time last year have imagined that the news that's been breaking since the beginning of this year could be as extreme as it is? A Ukrainian separatist leader is calling on Russia to absorb the eastern region of Donetsk after yesterday's referendum on self-rule. Self-declared Donetsk People's Republic leader Denis Pushilin urged Moscow to listen to the will of the people. Ukraine and the European Union have both declared the referendum illegal, and the EU is to impose further sanctions against Russia. Daniel Sanford reports.
Fireworks tonight at the headquarters of the rebels in Donetsk as they celebrated a day they hope will take them out of Ukraine. Less than 24 hours after their controversial vote for self-rule, the leadership declared their hand. They want to join Russia. When you consider the potentially momentous implications of Donetsk breaking away from Ukraine, surprisingly few people have turned up tonight. Only a few hundred are here to cheer on the leadership of the new self-declared Donetsk People's Republic. The armed pro-Russia activists claim 2.5 million people voted in the poll, far more than seems possible, and with that exaggerated mandate, they made this request.
Based on the will of the people and in order to restore historical justice, we ask the Russian Federation to consider the absorbing of the Donetsk People's Republic into the Russian Federation.
In neighbouring Lugansk, sandwiched between Donetsk and Russia, armed men also declared self-rule after an equally controversial poll. Moscow continued to encourage them, calling for the referendums to be acted on, prompting this response from the interim Prime Minister of Ukraine.
Russia should stop supporting terrorists. It should call on them to lay down arms and to free the buildings that they occupy, and it should also stop funding them. Then there will be calm in Ukraine.
And in Krasnoarmysk, where 2 men died in a polling day shooting yesterday, a reminder of the price that is being paid as this part of Ukraine slowly falls apart. Daniel Sanford, BBC News, Donetsk.
Friends, we have a very special report related to Germany next, and neo-Nazism and a different name and so forth going on. But I want to let you know, before we play this, we have 2 more stories tonight. One that'll show you a building in South Korea that's leaning more than the Tower of Pisa leans. We'll have that video for you after this one. And then to end tonight, who says that all news is bad news? Well, we've got a video tonight showing you the birth of twins that were born holding hands. Now, I have to admit, there is some bad news in it. You'll see the little twins won't be able to go home with their mother for about a month or so. They, for some reason, have to be kept in the hospital. So I guess you could say, well, there's some bad news in that. It's a shame to keep the little babies away from their mother for such a long time right after birth, a very important and critical time. But at least it's cute. The one part of it's cute. The little twins are holding hands. They were born holding hands. We'll have that for you at the end of tonight's show. I tell you that because this next piece is a 15-minute piece. And so if some of you get tired during this piece, hang in there for the end of the show if you want to see these other 2 stories for tonight and the video we have on those 2 stories for you. This one I felt an important story. It comes from Newsnight, BBC's Newsnight, and shows how Germany's far right is a minority movement, but one of the country's authorities cannot afford to ignore, as a new breed of young professionals are drawn to the movement, as Katja Adler reports for Newsnight.
The number of armed and violent neo-Nazis is on the rise. The far-right movement is diversifying, attracting growing numbers of students and middle-class professionals. Revelations of mass murder and hate crimes force the German authorities to admit they've done too little for too long. Is Germany's Nazi past preventing it from fighting right-wing extremism now? Last November, amongst the wreckage of this burnt-out flat, police unpacked one of the biggest scandals of Germany's post-war history. The flat had been home to Beate Zschäper, Uwe Böhnhardt and Uwe Mundlos. Known neo-Nazi activists, they'd been on the run for years, remaining at large despite carrying out, by their own admission, at least 9 murders and a number of bombings. Beate Zschäper turned herself into the police. Her accomplices were found dead in a van in an apparent double suicide. Police found a version of Monopoly that Beate had been selling. Germany's intelligence service showed Newsnight the game. Concentration camps are the most desirable properties on the board. But this is what shocked the German public most. The trio left this homemade DVD, rather bizarrely using the Pink Panther cartoon character to boast that they'd been on a 10-year killing spree of racially motivated murders nationwide. The trio say they acted to serve the German people and their country. They sign off as the National Socialist Underground, or NSU, echoing the National Socialism of Hitler's Germany. Police say they had no idea. They'd blamed those murders on the Turkish mafia. Newsnight has seen a secret internal report revealing serious blunders by law enforcement agencies. They'd had the group under close surveillance for years, but never took decisive action, allowing them to go into hiding and remain underground. Why weren't they stopped before they began to kill? Helmut Roever was the local intelligence chief at the time.
In this moment, in my eyes, it was necessary to arrest those people at once. In my eyes. Police did not.
Why?
I can't explain it. I can't explain it. We thought that we had them 2 or 3 times, and it was not possible to arrest them. I can't explain it. Don't ask me. Don't ask me.
Well, we did keep asking him, but he had no answers for us. Allegations have been made in Germany not just of incompetence, but of right-wing sympathies inside the country's secret services and police force, something the institutions vehemently deny. Here in Germany, it's impossible to discuss far-right or even nationalist activity in isolation, outside the context of this country's Nazi past. Germany's post-war constitution was very much written in the vein of never again. So the story of the Nationalist Socialist Underground throws up some disturbing questions. Just how is it that a group of militant neo-Nazis was allowed to flourish? And just how popular and how powerful are the far-right and nationalist extremists in Germany today? Human rights groups say more than 180 people have been killed in right-wing attacks in Germany over the last 20 years. Neo-Nazis have murdered more people in post-war Germany than any other single group, including Islamists and the far left. But this is not reflected in official data. The German government admits mistakes have been made. Martin is a former neo-Nazi leader. He's now left the movement and asked us to hide his identity. He says the neo-Nazi trio's murderous exploits should have come as no surprise.
The militant scene has always said we need people who are willing and able and trained, in case it comes to civil war. The scene is armed, it's military. This does lead to people being killed. Weapons training is carried out in secret. In the Arab world, for instance, with freedom movements there, the right-wing scene sees itself as a freedom movement.
Martin was part of a growing movement of secretive far-right groups in Germany called the Free Forces. No longer only rooted in the past, these groups tend not to call themselves Nazi or neo-Nazi, but rather the Free Forces. They're attracting a new kind of crowd, including students, the middle classes and intellectuals. They're harnessing social media and using new modern forms and means and reasons for protest. When it comes to them, one intelligence agent told me the security services here in Germany really are out of their depth. This group, the Immortals, is part of the new crowd. Anti-globalization, anti-capitalist and anti-democratic, they warn of the impending extinction of the German people. Hard for the authorities to catch, they use text messaging to organize spontaneous demos across the country, like this one in their propaganda video. After 15 minutes on the street, they've gone.
The leadership is always trying to attract members of the so-called upper classes, students who one day can act as lawyers or doctors for the scene, really do something to help the movement. You'd never imagine that those sorts of people supported the far right, and they may deny their affiliation in public, but they are very much part of the movement, more so now than ever before.
But what exactly do they want? Far-right activists are somewhat camera shy. They say they're hounded by police and hemmed in by post-war German laws. We went to Berlin's best-known neo-Nazi pub, The Executioner, to see if we could tempt the punters to talk. They've never let a camera crew in here before, but after a couple of Himmler cocktails, Uwe Dreisch, the former head of a now-banned neo-Nazi group, sat down with us.
Who are we? We are nationalists. We care deeply about our fatherland. We don't like the state that exists here right now in Germany. We want to rebuild our country for our citizens, the German people. We want to protect our culture, our country, our religion. In Britain, you too are proud of your country, but here I, as a German, am a second-class citizen. This is because we live with eternal war guilt here in Germany. Others get preferential treatment, not us Germans. Those outside here who say this pub is full of evil Nazis, how would they know? They're afraid to talk to us. They try to ban us.
The British owner of the pub asked us to hide his identity to protect his family. He was amongst many that night who complained to us about strict German laws they believe are used to persecute the far right.
If the German government make laws that you can't express your freedom of speech, then there will be an uprising. It will happen. Just because it will be forbidden, it will happen. If they let these laws go, then people will be a lot more freer. They will say what they think. There'll be more discussion, and they won't have as many political problems as they do today.
What many lawmakers say they don't like is that the far right rejects the German Federal Republic. The nationalists want a new order in Germany, non-democratic, non-multicultural. In the meantime, some are establishing what they call national liberated zones, dotted across the country. We're on our way to Jammel. It is the only village that really has been completely taken over by neo-Nazis in Germany to date. And they have all the houses now except for one. They've pretty much forced out all the other villagers. In the middle of the village is this Nazi Germany-styled mural, proclaiming that the area is free, social and national. The German authorities recently forced the villagers here to take down a signpost pointing towards Hitler's birthplace. People here weren't particularly pleased to see us, or keen to talk to us. Prior to coming here, I tried to organise an interview with the leading family of the village, but they weren't keen on our camera.
You find liberated zones in German towns and cities too. There have been cases of riots, arson and murder in the far-right's efforts to cleanse those areas, a couple of streets or a sprawling housing estate, getting rid of all those they regard as political enemies: immigrants, ethnic minorities, liberals or left-wingers. Far-right groups also run summer camps for children and families, like this one in North Germany, filmed a few years ago. This youth organisation was later banned. The German Interior Ministry said it was indoctrinating children in Nazi ideology, as well as giving them military training. But the courtship of youngsters continues. The Nationalists run youth clubs and sports clubs. They're playing the social card in the current economic crisis, offering welfare advice and family assistance, hoping to attract new supporters. The NPD is the legal political wing of the far right. It has elected representatives in 2 out of Germany's 16 state parliaments. Udo Pasteurs is the deputy leader of the NPD nationwide and its leader in the regional parliament of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern.
German children need the land. We want to keep the German people alive with our own biological vitality, so that tomorrow and the day after, Germany still earns the name Germany. Because imagine a country called Germany that's filled only with Africans, with us importing nice little sweet nigger children.
The German government says it's looking to ban the NPD because of the party's association with extremists. Its alleged links with the neo-Nazi killer trio, the National Socialist Underground, and NPD members' questioning of the Holocaust. I asked Udo Pasteurs what he thought of Hitler.
Look here. If one speaks about a historical figure, it's impossible to do so during a short interview.
I could ask lots of people what they thought of Hitler. They'd be able to answer me in very few words.
But those are emotions, not facts. I don't ask people in Dresden what they think of Bomber Harris.
But you're totally avoiding my question. What do you think of Hitler, and what of the 6 million Jews?
Let me point out to you that in Germany you are punishable by law if you don't accept the authorities' version of what happened at Auschwitz-Birkenau. I ask for your understanding. I do not wish to talk about these issues. I do not live in a free country.
German nationalists say they represent the German people. Most Germans insist they certainly do not. But statistics indicate the Euro crisis and wider economic woes mean increasing numbers are sympathetic to the anti-immigrant Germans first message espoused by the far right. This was the state memorial service last month for the victims of the National Socialist Underground. Just a few days before, more than 2,000 neo-Nazis marched in Dresden. At the memorial, there was a profound sense of remorse, with political promises to crack down on the far right. But as the story fades from the national headlines, human rights groups say they're concerned the neo-Nazi issue will be neglected again. It is a minority movement. But Germany's nationalists and the so-called free forces are a force that needs to be dealt with. The question is how.
Excellent job by BBC's, who did we say produced that? Nightcast, Newsnight. And friends, just a brief reminder, I got time just for a couple of stories, but a quick reminder, the next major event in prophecy to happen is the 5th seal of Revelation, the Great Tribulation, a time of martyrdom of God's saints, a time of World War III, a time when a new emperor over the Holy Roman Empire will be crowned, most likely in Frankfurt, Germany, by a pope in a coronation ceremony in the Emperor's Hall in Frankfurt. Now, just time for a couple of stories that I promised to play you here at the end. A 7-story building in South Korea has suddenly tilted to one side. The building was still under construction when it began to collapse sideways this morning. Miranda Hurst has this report.
Not quite a perfect pair. This building, under construction in South Korea, suddenly tilted on Monday morning. The 20-degree angle is 5 times greater than Italy's famous Leaning Tower of Pisa. Situated in Asan, some 100 kilometres south of the capital Seoul, the building was designed for both commercial and residential units. Officials say no one was hurt as it lurched to one side.
Currently the building is leaning to the south. There's no one in the building because it hasn't been completed. So we've set up a restricted area so we can control the danger if there's a collapse.
Gas and power links in the area have been cut off as a precaution. Construction began last August and was due to finish by the end of this month. It's not yet known what steps will be taken to remedy the problem. Miranda Hurst, BBC News.
Friends, twin sisters who were born holding hands are breathing on their own after being removed from a ventilator. Julian and Jenna Thistlethwaite shared you'll hear about this story in this video with Claire Brennan reporting.
Meet Jenna and Gillian Thistlethwaite, the identical twins who were born holding hands. The sisters were pictured tightly grasping one another as doctors presented them to their parents at a hospital in Ohio on Sunday. Their safe delivery came as a massive relief for the couple, who were told their daughters were suffering from a dangerous condition which meant they shared the same amniotic sac and placenta. Such births are called monoamniotic, and doctors say they occur in about 1 of every 10,000 pregnancies.
Best Mother's Day present ever, and Mother's Day is definitely going to be different.
What was going through my mind? I don't know. I couldn't think. I started tearing up immediately. It was beautiful.
The babies were given some assistance breathing, but have now been removed from their ventilators. Their parents will have to wait up to 4 weeks before they can bring the girls home, but they insist the tiny pair are already the best of friends. Claire Brennan, BBC News.
Okay, friends, so we end with a little bit of good news tonight. That's it for this report. For Monday night, we will not be live streaming tomorrow night, Tuesday night, because I have to be involved with my church's annual second Passover. I used to help set that up with Roman Boric in the recital hall every year in Pasadena, California. We'll be running that tomorrow night, and including tomorrow night in the UK, just after sunset, and we'll be running it just after sunset in every time zone in the United States, including Alaska and Hawaii. We'll be doing that on the Sabbath Service TV channel. That's a different channel. You can get that channel from our homepage on cogtv.org. But we won't be broadcasting on Nightcast TV tomorrow night because of the annual second Passover ceremony tomorrow. But we'll be, God willing, and the creeks don't rise, we'll plan to be back Wednesday night with the current day's news related to the Bible and prophecy here on Nightcast. Until next time, your host Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth saying, so long, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.